one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. We're going to call this meeting to order. I need approval of the agenda, and I would like to make one addition because it's time sensitive. We're going to add that IMWCA. What that is, I'm going to explain that. That's the Iowa Municipalities Workers' Compensation Association ballot. We have to vote on this and send back our responses, but it needs to be done quickly. So I'd recommend we add that item number 2 after secondary roads. After that, does anybody have any more changes, deletions, corrections?
Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the amendment. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Approval of Monday, August 23rd. I'm sorry, excuse me, August 21st, 2023 minutes.
See nothing wrong with them. You make a motion to approve Monday, August 21st minutes. I'll second that.
There's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, first item on the agenda is secondary roads. Good morning, Zach.
Morning.
He has some utility permits, construction update, and a department update.
2 utility permits, both water related. First for West Central Iowa Rural Water, getting a service across Jade Avenue, in section 27 and 28 of Eden Township. For residents, don't see any issues with that. I don't have any questions with that one.
You want to do them individually or?
We can get together, they're both pretty. The second one is for Mike Rieselman, is doing the work. This is section 3 and 4 of Washington Township, crossing, more than likely crossing, M68. This is, by, Kurt Collison's residence. There's some water line is leaking in the ditch currently. So they think you'll probably have to bore a new line in, but not sure. But so that's why we're trying to get ahead of it. We'll dig it up and see what we need to do, but more than likely they'll probably put a new line in. So, but just a service. That's really it. Nothing different from what we normally do for these.
I see no problem with them. I'll make a motion to approve the 2 utility permits.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Construction update. We are doing some crack filling and slurry leveling on the Greene County line. From Ralston south to the Guthrie County line. They were working on it all last week. They're getting close to being done with the crack filling. Then they'll do some slurry leveling. This is a joint venture with Greene County. They'll be paying for half. So the joints on that were getting real wide and real deep. It's getting pretty rough. So
Apple Avenue.
yep, Apple Avenue.
You're doing the work.
No, this is the contractor. Denco's doing that.
You split the bill around.
Yep. So they'll bill Greene County for half. They'll bill us for half.
Okay.
So
that road was just repaved not that long ago. That's really,
oh, if I had to guess, it was south of, I bet you it's at least 15 to 18 years old.
Are you thinking Velvet and not Apple?
I'm talking south of Ross.
From the railroad tracks going south, because it's been crack filled and
Well,
slurry before.
this is on the north end,
This is all the way. This is the whole way
but
from,
that south end down towards that.
yeah, this is right, south of the tracks. Not from 30 to the tracks, but from the tracks south to the Guthrie County line.
Yeah,
That part's, the part north of the tracks is new. The part south of the tracks is old.
no, we busted it up, crushed it and relaid it.
I'll look and see, Gene, but it's pretty old.
It's kind of rough. I mean,
It's-
it's showing age.
Cause it's been crack filled and slurry before. It's the second time we're doing it. It's the county line road. Okay. We'll go for a drive.
I've been on it, but I'm thinking that thing was not that long ago.
We've gotten complaints on it, from multiple people, and it's getting pretty deep.
My lifetime up here.
So working on that. We're also working on extending the concrete box culverts and some of the pipes, south of Manning on M66, trying to get in preparation for doing the shoulder widening down there, going through, trying to get documents finalized for right-of-way purchase as well.
Will you get to the widening this year?
I don't know yet. Depends on how well the right-of-way goes. Hopefully getting close to getting documents prepared so we can talk to people. And I'd like to if we can.
Yeah.
But we'll see how
Have you
things go.
approached any of the people yet?
Some of them we've talked with them about other things, and everything that I've been told, and the ones I've talked to, everybody's in favor of it from what I understand. They were when this initially started 5 years ago, and I think most of the landowners are all the same, if not all, maybe one different. So I don't think that's gonna be a tough conversation, but we're not there yet, so try to get all our I's dotted and T's crossed so we can have those conversations, so. The second round of dust control was applied last week for the one of the contractors that does the majority of them. So all the second round of dust control has been put down.
Is that 400 spots, roughly 400?
Oh, no, it's 130 spots this last one, and there's probably another 10 to 15 of other contractors. So overall, we're probably talking 135 locations, 140 locations, something like that. And then as far as, excuse me, as a department update, we did hire a mechanic. Started a little sooner than we originally anticipated due to some unforeseen circumstances. But we got everything taken care of that we needed to, and all this paperwork's in, and we should be go. But he started last Monday, so going well.
So we're still working, putting the new trucks together then?
Yep, we got the first truck is I'd call it 90% complete. We're waiting for the biggest thing we're waiting for right now that we don't have is snow equipment. The snow equipment itself isn't that big a deal, but the brackets that go on the truck to mount the snow equipment, that's what we need. So we're there are some the company we are getting those from. They moved their plant location earlier this year, beginning of the year, so they had a little bit of a slowdown and move it when they moved their plant. So we're kind of waiting on that. But they've been on order for quite a while, so we should be high up on the list. So I check with them about once a week to see where we're at and who we're getting it from. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we're seeing something. But when we're down the road in the second truck as well, we're 30-40% done with that one. So for sure gonna have, my plan is to have 2 going for the snow flies. Hopefully we get to the third one maybe as well, but we'll see how things go with other breakdowns and what else we have for equipment to fix.
Anybody else? Thank you, Zach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Zach?
All right. Next item on the agenda is the added Iowa Municipalities Workers' Compensation Association official ballot. The INWCA Board of Trustees recommends the election of the following individuals for terms ending in October 2026. We are to vote for 3. The 3 are Dan Wiedmeyer, Washington County Auditor, Jamie Anderson, Fort Dodge Human Resource Director, and Rhonda Dieters, Grundy County Auditor. There is only 4 on this, so I will pass this around. You guys take a look. I need a uniform vote or majority vote to approve those elected officials.
Somebody knows the right hand, I would say the works.
Yeah.
Right in front of us.
I mean, I could add one.
Scott Johnson.
No.
Adding Scott Johnson, enjoy.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next item is to review Tyler Technologies quotes. I'm gonna give just a little brief history, and then we can have an open discussion about this. In our audit from June 30th, 2022, findings related to financial statements continued. The effect, the lack of documented supervisory review process increased probability staff errors and recording hours or leave go undetected. The recommendation from our auditor that audited the county, not
External audit.
yes. Timesheets should be submitted to the county auditor's office prior to processing of payroll each pay period. Timesheets should be signed off by the employee and supervisor of each submission. Timesheets should support all hours worked and taken, vacation, sick leave, compensatory, comp time, holiday hours, personal days. Also, leave time should be approved prior to taking leave. The Board of Supervisors should adopt a policy which requires the submittal of timesheets to the county auditor's office for payroll processing, along with the support of vacation, sick, comp, holiday hours, and personal days. This would help prevent and mitigate payroll errors and would ensure the county auditor's office has sufficient support to comply with Fair Labor Standards Act for county employees. The response, the board will pass a policy regarding submittal of timesheets and leave reports to ensure compliance with the Fair Labor Standards Act. That is kind of what stemmed this.
And what was the date of that again, please?
This was from June 30th, 2023. And this has actually been in our audit.
Probably last several times.
Yeah. So I want to, I guess, and this is my opinion, I wanted to make the process easier for everybody involved, whether you do payroll or as an employee filling out a timesheet. I think every employee by Carroll County should have to fill out a timesheet, because in the private sector, everybody fills out a timesheet or you don't get paid. So we went ahead, and Courtney did a good job too. She got a quote from Tyler Technologies, which is the program and software that we already currently utilize at the county. This will be just an add-on service that each elected official, because we can't tell our recorder how to run her office, but this would allow her to easily document and send it over to the auditor's office. I truly do believe, from speaking to some other different counties down in Des Moines, it would take, how long does it take to do payroll? Roughly.
Roughly, it can take 5 days. I mean, it's not just by the time they submit their hours, if there's any changes, insurance changes, we run it twice a month. So the first of the month always has all the changes. If there's new employees, it can take 5 days.
And it's all manual.
It's all manual.
So do you feel that this would help streamline that so it's not so manual? You're still gonna have to observe it, but I really what I would love to do for you guys is take it from 5 days to do 2 days, so you guys have time to do other things and prepare for other things.
It would.
So my understanding is that the department heads would input most of the data and then be downloaded to you in the cloud. And this way, the department heads would be signing off on that employee, much less the employee.
That's what I've understood too. So they enter it all into this. We're gonna use Tyler. We're not gonna use any third party. We're gonna use Tyler. They're gonna input all their employees. The department head is. We're still gonna go review it, but it's their initials on it saying, yep, they worked this many hours.
Even the employees' initials are supposed to be on it.
Yes, and then it's gonna track whether they, they took 7.5 hours of vacation, they took 7.5 hours of comp time, whatever. That's my understanding as well.
Well, let's clarify. It's department heads and elected officials.
Yes. The elected official, well, yes, because, so,
Some people are not department heads or elected officials.
correct. So Courtney's for instance, Courtney's my boss, so she would, and she would enter mine. So, yeah,
And sign off on it.
and sign
you
off on it. Yeah,
It's a more checks and balance because we do have a little bit of an issue with our payroll system right now.
Yeah.
We're paying for hours that hasn't even been worked. I think that's what has stemmed this conversation
that's
by the board to fix it because there's no other entity out there that's paying. Like if I went and worked at a dental clinic, I'm pretty sure the dentist is not going to pay me for a Friday. They're not going to pay me Thursday for Friday that I hadn't even worked.
exactly.
Well, it's because we pay on the end of the pay period instead of a delayed week.
Yeah.
This is the reason.
Right.
And I know Courtney is gone today, so I really want to have her a part of this conversation too. But I think moving forward, I really, really want everybody to really take a look at this quote. I think it'd be a good thing. Again, we just want to we're trying to do what's best for the Carroll County taxpayers. And at the end of the day, we should be very accountable for the hours worked. Any person from the public should be able to come in and say, I want to see how many hours everybody worked.
Right. And I think I don't think that's the issue. I think it's the time, like when we're going to implement it. It's a timing thing, like, right now, I just don't think, there's just a lot going on right now. I mean, we want to do it and it would be nice, but I don't know if the timing's right now as far as January, and I know.
What do you think the best time?
And I know we've discussed it. And again, I think Courtney needs to be here. I think she's discussed it. I think you need to discuss it with Courtney too. But I think we've talked just because there's a lot, there's a lot going on. Definitely, yeah, it's a good thing. We want to do it. There's no question. Nobody's said they don't want to do it. It's just when to implement it. I think, pushing it to January, it's quick. And I think it's going to be, because I think in here, I think when Courtney talked to him, there was maybe a 2 to 4 month training.
So is that 32 hours? Is that down in the bottom under professional services? Is that to train the department heads how to do it?
That I don't know.
I think we have to definitely get more information on what it means
Yeah.
for training and how training can be provided, because this would be a change for everybody.
Yeah.
But I think it's a welcome change. I'm going to state my opinion and take it for what it is. I think we have pushed this down the road so long and so far. I think every year there's going to be an election. Every year there's going to be something. I know there's a lot going on right now. It's just frustrating when we're trying to do what's right by the people of Carroll County, and we just have to keep pushing things back.
I don't know what a good time is, but you guys just keep shoving this back. You've been on this since before I got aboard. I mean, we got to pick a date and stick to it somehow. I don't know
We
when that
did
date
last
is.
week.
Well, we did it longer ago, right?
Yeah, we picked it, yes.
We'll get
And-
plenty of notice.
It was
And
gonna- it was gonna
According
be-
to our county attorney, we have to have Courtney here to do this.
Yeah.
So
I just think it's fine that we have the open discussion. We talked about it. It was on the agenda. I didn't want to remove it. The quote we received was $4,950. There will be no action taken today because I would like Courtney to be here to have that
We
discussion. So
understand.
But there's another addition on it.
there is.
Yeah, there's, there's,
Oh, is there a
there's
yearly?
software services.
it's, yeah.
If that's how expensive, though.
Yes,
Well,
you
I
can
think
have
we
it.
need to,
One thing, the time and attendance has been talked about more recently. That hasn't been talked about for the last 4 months, because switching it without that is one thing, but switching with the time and attendance is another deal. And I'm speaking from our department, because that's a different deal as well. Not saying that we can't do it, but that throws up some more hurdles for us, depending on what we're gonna use that for.
Are you thinking for the outside workers that are,
Well, none of our guys get on the computer to put it in a timesheet right now. there's one computer downstairs for,
they come to your building every day?
no,
but the thing
Not-
is,
Not the outside people, the guys that.
yes, they do.
Everyone that is not at an isolated building comes to your building.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's, you punch a clock on that, right?
No, they don't. They put on a
Well, you
timesheet.
Yeah, but you could.
Right, but what
And
we
you log
put,
in.
what we put on a timesheet, we put on DOT codes for everything they do.
Yeah.
And so if we're gonna put that into Thailand, this time and attendance, Amy will be doing that, not the guys. The guys are gonna fill out a paper time sheet. Amy's gonna do that. There's no way that that's gonna happen for our outside shop guys and our in-house guys at this time.
But you guys do a time sheet. That's.
We've done a time sheet and gets signed off by the employee, by the supervisor. And, every.
And I don't have a problem if if each department has their own way of doing time sheets, as long as there's a time sheet turned in.
And I'm not saying.
Because I know you guys do it by project design.
And I'm not saying the time and attendance is a bad thing. I'm just saying everyone has different ways things fit better. That's a little more challenging for us because we don't have a phone line and internet connection for every out shop.
How many employees are out at secondary roads?
33.
How long does it take Amy to do her payroll?
The way she does it right now, a couple days, day and a half. I mean, it's a convoluted process with a lot of spreadsheets. But we can make it better. It
Would
wouldn't have to be-
would Tyler Technology simplify some of that?
Absolutely it will, but it wouldn't have to be time and attendance. It's just being to put in hours directly in and getting paid 2 weeks behind. That's what would be the best thing.
Okay, we're looking at perhaps 1 week. beside that.
One or two's probably, one can probably be done, but we have to get time sheets from our house shop as well.
My question is like, I haul gravel for you all week, but when they come in, no, they don't punch in, they just write down, I haul gravel for 8 hours.
They check with Chris in the morning.
Yep.
And when they get their direction, what they're doing, and they check in at night. Our house shop guys do the same thing. They check in on the radio every morning.
They're not
every night.
filling out, they're just filling out at the end of the week or whatever.
They're filling out every day, or whenever they want to fill it out.
Yeah.
They're filling out their, not only what they did every day, because it's multiple things, so it's different.
Fill it out of the code, yeah.
Sounds to me like you guys kind of already do majority of the things that were found in our audit.
We're
There's
doing it, we're just not doing it electronically. That's what I wanted to clarify, I guess.
okay. All right, well, we'll go ahead and table that until next week. Would be next week, Tuesday. Don't forget that. All right, next item on the agenda. Thank you, everybody, for the input. Next item on the agenda is Carroll County Solar Farms discussion. There's a lot of work, birds going around talking about solar farms, and I know Scott did some conversations down in Des Moines. We have Marty Halvers here to help us kind of navigate this as well. This is just a discussional base thing. So Scott, if you want to kick it off.
Well, I was aware that there could perhaps be some sections of Carroll County farm ground going into 100% solar production. I was at Cindy Houghton this year, county assessor. I was informed that the assessments on those, once they become solar farms, go 100% to the state. The assessed value of the property with the solar panels on it. And the taxes collected on that go 100% to the state. Forget the ground below it, what it was worth or whatever, it becomes a new assessment. And if the county was going to get nothing, which includes fire districts, school districts, county taxes, drainage districts, the whole tax stack. So trying to understand that, it was, in my opinion, it was going to be a net loss for the county if we were to, if zoning and board of adjustment allowed it. So questions were asked. Cindy is here, that some of those taxes through a utility tax will end up coming back to the county. And that was good news to me. I still don't understand the full depth of it.
Cindy, do you want to pull up a chair so you can? Because I have a feeling you're probably going to answer potentially more, and thanks for being here, Cindy.
Yeah, thank you.
You may or may not. I mean, this is just an open discussion. I think this is a huge learning curve for everybody, and we'll work through it and.
Right. And the ones that we have right now in the county are so small that it hasn't been a big issue, but we've got several that are already state assessed. And
But a lot of what the ones that are in the county right now that are state assessed, those are personal use. Those are not to sell back.
No.
No.
RECs, the two, or
Yeah.
Both of them are.
solar
They
utility.
state
But they're
assessed,
separate than ones that perhaps power a livestock confinement.
Those-
So I'm trying to
Sure,
differentiate
assessed,
between
yes.
commercial and, so what we're talking about today is the commercial, not the.
And who decides if they're commercial or residential, whatever you call it?
The state,
State decides that.
Yeah.
Okay.
and if it's located on a house or a building, that's locally assessed. I assess those.
Yeah.
Although they're exempt for the first 5 years, they don't pay anything on those for the first 5 years per Iowa code. And then per Iowa code 437A.6, which I've given you, there's a replacement tax of 0.06 of a cent per kilowatt hour on the facilities that are state assessed. And I see no paperwork or anything on that from the state, so I have no idea what we received.
So your understanding is those taxes, those tax revenues are collected do come back to the county.
Right, 0.06 of a cent
Per kilowatt.
kilowatt
Yep.
hour. Yeah. So I have no idea how many kilowatt hours you're talking about bringing in. Do you have that
I can't
information?
give you that yet. I'm under a gag order until we sign contract.
Will you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, I'm Marty Halbert, retired dentist. I retired from dentistry 4 years ago, except I work full time for my wife.
Mhm.
I still, I farmed and everything for 50 years. I've livestock, grain, and everything, and now I've been looking at, I've had a lot of concern about renewable energy. And we've all experienced some of the climate changes, things in the last couple of weeks, you see it all around. So during these 4 years, I've been spending a lot of due diligence looking at different energy sources. The other thing I do is kind of like Madam Chairman's husband or father. I've planted between 13 and 14,000 trees. So you want me to go a little more where we?
Well, I guess for my own curiosity, can you kind of explain the starting process? I know you probably can't talk about the company or anything like that, but as a landowner, I guess.
Well, before I get into that, first of all, too, I want to thank people because I'm one of the luckiest families in Carroll County. All 4 of our children have come back home. All 11 of my grandchildren live here in the county. So I not only have skin in the game because of the farms they want to take for this. I want it so, it's a good life for them in there. I researched solar energy and researched wind, researched nuclear. I've, done a lot of, whatever energy type we can get. And it's such a new field. It's difficult to say part of what they want a 50-year lease because they're going to have such a large investment there. Where's our technology going to be in 50 years? We look at the wind turbines, how they've changed in just a short amount of time they've been here in there. The company that we deal with is an international energy company, traded on the New York Stock Exchange in there. I almost wish they weren't international because it was telling you, I got to call it 11 o'clock last night, 5:30 this morning.
What's their name? What's the name?
I can't give that.
Can't
out.
disclose that.
Thank you. I will tell you when I can.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking me because I think you're entitled to know. This is probably the biggest economic development thing Carroll County has ever had. And I'm glad you people are going to be involved because we need you. I was shocked the other day when you told me those revenues were going to the state first because I know what happens to those. Having been in office and been a state officer, by the time you get the trickle down and come back, they're pretty diluted.
Yeah.
In there. They perform an algorithm on their all the properties, the management company in the United States. My question is what Mr. Miners addressed in there too. Why are you putting a high CSR2 in there? Why not out in the sand hills or the Black Hills or someplace like that? Well, these programs have about 35 or 40 different criteria in there. The particular criteria where they want to put this rates in the top few percent in the country in there. So on managed studies. I had the moral thoughts that, okay, I've been in production agriculture all my life, and there I'm taking a lot of acres out. But I look at the changes in production agriculture where I used to be glad to get 100 bushels an acre. And now we're 300 plus in there. So we're feeding more of the world in smaller acres, and we need this energy. Yeah. This company has looked, and you've seen some of the new Amazon centers, Facebook and things like that in Des Moines and Omaha and Council Bluffs. They are in contact with them. In there. It will be, the lease is actually, I keep saying 50, it's actually a 55-year lease. We have 5 years where my tenants can still farm it in there, but I can't take it away from her, give it to anybody else. And they say it's going to take them this long to get permits. And maybe you're more familiar with why it would take 5 years to get permits when our electrical grid needs all this energy. Just one of the questions I have.
I don't think the permit process would take 5 years. There has to be something else we're missing here, because our permit, you pull in for a permit, any utilities pulls in for a permit. Zach, you're familiar.
But I think he's talking state utility board. That's
Oh.
different. They're other things.
Well, I guess I found out more thing. I didn't know the grid was so good through coming through Carroll County.
Because of the major high lines.
Yes. In there, and they can go, they use the inverters on them and everything, and distribute it wherever. I think this, as we look at this, it's not only a potential for the energy and what you get back per kilowatt hour. Who's to say Facebook or Amazon won't want one of their centers close to that power source? In there, so.
Yeah.
They're talking the server centers.
Yes,
The big.
So like the
12
Google
acre
down in
buildings.
Mills County.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
We had that conversation, and the amount of
12 acre.
utilities it takes to run that facility. 12 people that work there, 13 people that work there, but the heat that it produces, because it's got all the servers in there, they're gonna start looking at supplying themselves.
Cyber currency farm in Coonrec is there because of the power they have there.
Yep.
Yeah. And well, some of these centers take as much as it does to supply a population city of 60,000. I've really been doing a lot of due diligence on this. I've gotten rid of my pile of medical and dental journals, and now I have solar. My wife doesn't think I'm making progress at cleaning my office.
Marty, one of the questions I have to you, when this, how many acres could this potentially cover?
I know, but I can't tell you.
But I mean, it could be more than a section, right?
Yes,
And okay,
Definitely.
but that's, yeah. So what happens to those secondary roads in that area?
they've studied your zoning thing and everything like that. And they feel your P and Z has a pretty good system. There's a setback on every.
So they
road.
lay the roads in.
Yes.
Okay, that's okay.
They will need to call on our engineer to keep the dust off of them, things like that, but
So what is on the land right now? Corn?
some of it's corn, some of it's beans. Yeah. And see, it will be 5 years before it's off. Another thing they look at, there's a gas line through one of them. Well, one thing with solar energy, if you average the year out, they're only producing, say, on an average 12 hours a day. Their power source needs energy year round. So there will be some lithium ion batteries in there. And they're also looking as OPPD and a lot of the utilities are switching from fossil fuels to natural gas.
What's OPPD?
Omaha Public Power District. And they're going, and there will be a connection. Some of this may go that direction because as where our big supplier here is Mid-American Energy. owned by Berkshire Hathaway, and we know where they're located. So. The lease, and Mr. Miners asked a good question in terms of contains a good cleanup clause. No matter when they quit, if this technology is outdated in 30 or 35 years, or they leave, they've got to clean it up, and it's down to 3.5 feet below ground. We do the soil sampling before we turn it over to them, and they've got to get it back to them.
To the original, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking about that, do they provide a trust fund to cover that?
Yes, they do.
Because I mean, you can guarantee everything, but there's nothing in the back of that.
And there's a special, we've required a special fund for this. The company certainly won't go broke or anything like that. And if they put it in a certain LLC or something like that, and it goes broke, I don't want to have the land and have millions of dollars of old, panels.
Yeah.
So will the drainage district have to be improved for the runoff that's not being soaked into the ground, not
Well,
having crops on it?
I have been out to Farm Service Agency in the truck out there and talked to them about that. And they're checking. They say no. But I was concerned. I don't want to dump water with anybody. I don't want to fill your ditches.
Yeah.
With water or something like that.
How much, this is a newbie question. How much infrastructure is actually under the ground?
Just wires and stuff.
Just wires?
Yeah.
Well, that goes where I want to go now. I'm assuming I got an idea where it's at. There's a lot of county drains in that area. Do they make sure they're not still operable after they construct?
That's why it's asking.
Yeah, I'm not,
You're talking about runoff though more, wasn't
Well, I'm sorry, and
you? And
the,
okay,
In districts.
there's not a county tile on it.
well, but I mean, there's probably someplace, there's tile somewhere, I'm sure.
Well, I have a lot of tile and there is a clause on there. If they do something to destroy my tile, it's got to be replaced.
soil compaction, when in 50 years, when they remove this, will the CRS numbers still be as high?
CSR two.
They have
Well, they
to.
have to bring it back to that.
Okay.
And do I know the answer to that? No.
Okay.
There's a project, we've worked with Iowa State on some of these things, and they've got some project south of town, and they're looking at grass underneath them, and there's that rock underneath, and they're seeing which is better in there, and then we'll find out. So you have to be maintained. I told my wife I was going to get her a herd of goats. But I just, and then take care of it, but I just finished not having to sleep in the shed next to my house. Unless you want, somebody who wants.
Put it in native so we can hunt it still.
Oh, you want, okay, good.
Do you know where there are any comparable?
Well, I've looked at one, this will be the biggest one in Iowa.
In
Yeah.
other states?
I have not looked at any of those. I've seen pictures of them.
Is the biggest one in Iowa in Clinton County? Is it in Clinton County, the biggest one in Iowa?
There's two of them, two other ones. I forget where. I think it might be someplace over there. Yeah.
And this is called a commercial solar farm.
Yes. And that's, that was a question I had. You want where so many acres where definition changes from a private to a
Commercial.
At the same
Commercial.
time, it's for resales when it changes. When you're doing resale.
Yeah.
But
for themselves.
but that doesn't-
Get their tax.
what do you mean for resale? Because if I have one in my house, it's for resale because they'll give you, they credit it back.
But most of it goes to you first.
Yeah, you're right, but it's still for resale.
Well, yeah.
That's why who knows what there is for language in that,
Do as you figure out what it does for the county, sales tax on this, suppose if you know the kilowatt hours, you'd see what it's making for the county.
Sales tax or property tax?
Well, property tax, but they're also, what do you call this tax?
It's the replacement tax.
Replaces tax.
Which would be a
That's
sales,
replaces the property tax.
Right.
that 0.006% per kilowatt hour.
Well, I hope it's like wind, wind has been pretty good for the counties and everything. You had to, which, suffer for a while you had the TIF funds and everything. But then now you're making it back.
Well, we never did TIF any of them. Carroll County has never TIFed them. We tried to,
Okay.
but we run into a buzzsaw in one area.
And I think this is a little bit different when you speak of infrastructure compared to a wind turbine. There's a lot of weight and stuff with the wind turbine. I don't see a lot of weight with a solar panel. Now I get it. There's probably 1,000 pounds or whatever they are, but they're not a wind turbine. Those, they go down, is it 15, 25 feet below surface? And then when they decommission,
I think.
they don't go down that far.
I mean, we don't know the kilowatts, but I think in the long run, I bet it'd be better taxes than a farm ground, I think.
Well, I would hope so. Or otherwise, again, I say I've got a lot of skin in this game.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to turn it over something, they go off the tax roll and you've got to tax my other property higher to service the roads and the schools and the.
Yeah.
Mr. Halbert, we would just do that to you though, nobody else.
Thank you.
You
No,
know,
thank
when
you
you're
for
talking to
thinking.
them, why don't you ask them what that would generate? If they could come up with
If
a
they have a general.
comparison on
Can I have one of those?
Yeah.
an acre of ground or if they want to do it on a
Or what do
40
they
or,
project to produce?
yeah, on a 40.
If,
When you can talk about it,
when it's phenomenal, the amount. Yes.
I think it'd be way better.
so when he can actually talk about it, I mean, I'm sure Mr. Halbert would be willing to share
And
expected.
right now, it's, what do you say roughly?
Well, roughly a
Phil.
40-acre tract, it brings in $1,028. And so that's 40 acres, so they'll take that times 16 for a whole section. So roughly it brings in $16,500 right now of cropland. So yeah, the question is, I thought we were gonna lose all that for every section, but my understanding now is not so.
Help me with math on there, you could take, most of my ground is $27 to $30 an acre, property tax man.
This one is yours, I believe. Yeah.
And then shoot it out.
It's $1,000. It's $1,000 per 40 acres roughly.
I think what we're at here,
Yeah.
where our zoning people need to look at our solar farm.
Right. It would take a special uses permit, my understanding, which would be a board of adjustment decision.
Well, I'm sure with the special use permit, well, they don't come to you, they go to the state. Yeah, maybe that's part of this 5-year thing, and I know they're working on it. But
I learned a lot in the last week.
Mhm.
I thought it was gonna be a net loss. There was a Clinton County Supervisor Friday at a meeting in Des Moines, and I asked the question. He said they're getting 3 times more, so they would be getting roughly $3,000 for that. No, not an acre, for that 40.
Or 40.
Yeah, for that
For
40
40,
piece section.
yeah, for 40.
But we have no proof of that.
No, that's why.
Sign that.
she just wrote paid on it.
I don't take any
I'll
money
say,
in my.
hey.
So that's,
Thank
I have nothing to do with money.
It's. Yeah, the other thing we're doing is so hard, and what we worked on last night and the last time, they want a 50-year lease in there. What kind of inflation rider do you put on it? In there, we went back, so 1913, when we averaged inflation out. And then, but what throws it off, we went through the Depression and it went the other way. So that really drags down your average.
Let's just assume 10% growth per year. We'll tax you on that.
No, I will take that increase, but it's hard to, there is an inflation thing in it, and that's what we're debating now. If we want to tie up with Social Security, the amount of that or something, that matrix. Well, I have some trouble with that because funds going broke in there, and I don't know what's going to happen to it and where it's going to be in 50 years. So there are a lot of things in this 47 pages.
You mentioned the grid. The grid is there to be able to take that power away from the site
Yes.
right now.
Yes.
That, to me, that's a big thing. And that doesn't have to be added to make that happen. That's right.
And that's one of the things in this algorithm they looked at. You know, we all see how they're having around the state getting easements for carbon credit or lines or anything, any type of thing in there.
But the reason your property is attractive is because the overhead infrastructure is there for you to, for them to sell it to.
Yeah, I've sworn all these years, 3 decades of farming there, those darn poles running down the middle of the farm.
They're gonna pay out.
They may be my best asset there now. I would like, hopefully, as this goes through, to be able to come and have an open conversation, answer questions for you, and when you get them, you've given me some very good questions. I can go back.
I think it's good to keep you open.
I do too.
Yeah, and I don't think Board of Adjustment, there is, for them to approve a special uses permit, there are no public hearings or anything. So having them here might, or having discussion here
Well,
might be good.
I think you have to have.
Scott, I've been to enough of those, continuing ed and classes all my life and everything like that. Sometimes the best information you get is when you're out having a cup of coffee and you ask this guy from town here.
Yeah.
Here, what's going on? What are you doing?
Yeah. So did this company approach you because of the location of the land and the high wires?
It is some of both.
Okay.
I've been looking and investigating these carbon credits and things like that and asked a lot of questions. And, that's a whole nother industry where they had trouble because there's no quantitative or qualitative measurement.
Yeah.
Or form. And
Are the,
that's what they're looking for.
are the other two large ones in Iowa that you know of, are they with this same outfit, or can you say that?
No, I don't even know that.
Okay. I was just wondering if there was a variance between how companies operate and.
Thank you for your time.
No, thank you very much for coming
Thank you.
up. Thank you, Cindy, for coming.
Thanks for answering the questions.
And yes, Mike, you can continue to hunt.
All right, thank you.
With his shot, I don't know.
Hey, that's probably.
Not that far from your house.
Marty, he has that recorded now, so there you go. Okay, next item on the agenda is to review and approve courthouse HVAC remodel project change order. We had a meeting with Batings this morning.
The change order number 4,
In reference
the
to,
missing cassette that was to go in the far southwest corner. That was labeled on the original drawings as storage, therefore maybe it didn't need it. It is not storage. It
an office.
will be utilized by the
Judge's office.
state judicial system. It needed to have it. So they were going to, or maybe did prematurely, take a cassette from downstairs that wasn't being used, which is the unit that's ceiling mounted, to move it upstairs so it can continue construction.
Well, they're getting there, which they don't think it's a good time. And they should get. I will make a motion to approve change order number 4.
I will second that.
there's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I signed that one.
Do we need to say it was for $9,677, $305,736 still remains in the contingency
How
fund?
much did you say that was? 9,000?
9677.
Thank you.
Do we
And
continue?
when you say cassette, you mean like an air
It's
conditioning
actual
unit,
unit.
It's a unit.
It's probably a 3x3.
not a radio with a cassette player.
Yeah. not- You know what that was?
I do.
Here,
All right. Item number 5, set public hearing for fiscal year 24 county budget amendment. For everybody, I know Courtney's gone today, but if everybody had time to kind of take a look at this. We had some revenue from the IEDA CDBG down housing program and expenditures to second judicial rent.
Could you tell me what that rent is for?
I don't.
Do you know?
The second judicial district has been dissolved into an advisory board because this state consolidation of departments.
So is that going away?
I do not know. I'm not able to answer that question, but second district judicial is usually what that refers to.
Yeah, but what are we paying rent?
I don't have that answer.
Well,
It's, or otherwise, it's a bill we have to pay. Like we have to,
or do we pay part of their rent at where they're located?
and
That's
it's
probably-
always been,
We're just setting the public
like
hearing
it's,
today, right?
yeah, it's always been 1,000 and it went up.
I was just gonna say, it must have went up. Because
Yeah.
If we've always done it, it'd have been in there, but
Yeah. And I can get, they sent a sheet,
Well,
With it.
we can answer it
Yeah.
next time when we said.
so
I'm just like,
so the total expenditures for this budget amendment would be $141,677. Did she by chance have a date she wanted to set this for?
She's got it. September 18th at 9:30. right
Yeah,
here in
okay.
town.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendment
Hearing date.
At
Thank you.
9:30.
at 9:30.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next item is manure management annual updates. We have one for Alex Reader in section 25, Nice Township. No changes. Grody Brother Finisher, section 28, Wheatland Township, original plan. Dennis Reesburg, section 19, Roselle Township, no nursery and a 4-year plan update. Joe Neese, section 19, Nice Township, no changes. And Mike Neese, section 29, Arcadia Township, no changes. And committee reports.
I go first. Last week with the ISAC on Wednesday and Thursday in Des Moines. And tomorrow night I have the opioid settlements discussion here at the boardroom, what, 5:30 looks like. That's it.
I can go next. Last week on Thursday, we met with Conference Technologies Incorporated. Cindy, Courtney, and I were there. All 3 of the courtrooms upstairs are going to be fully electronic. It's a state thing. Now is good timing. Like we're still trying to figure out who's paying for what. At noon, G and I attended CCGP. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I was at ISAC. And this week, this morning we had the meeting with the courts, or I'm sorry, with Batings on update or progress on the courthouse HVAC. Tomorrow at 3:00, there's another meeting with the state on the courts at 3:00. And tomorrow night at 5:30 is the opioid conference. Wednesday at 7:00, there's a steering committee meeting for planning and zoning. At 1:00, there's a meeting with HUD, the mayor of Carroll has set up on housing and trying to understand that. And Thursday and Friday are free.
We can go. I was on vacation last week. So safety committee update. So Bill Dickey with IMWCA will be here to conduct a safety risk assessment, which they do yearly, on September 19th. I might also talk to him about some advice, maybe on our policy, because it's about safety risk assessment. And then we'll have our meeting, our first safety meeting on September 26th. The HIPAA training did go well, and there were folks that were not able to attend. Gary Jones is going to be getting us a link so that everyone that needs to can get a makeup class. He also agreed to look over our HIPAA policy to try to get something that's a little more user friendly, because it's 250 pages long. Maybe not the best. Let's see. I did go last Tuesday to the state technology meeting here at the courthouse, and I am going to go to the opioid settlement meeting. tomorrow.
Real quick, I'm gonna back you up. I know I had you print the safety policy statement. Pay attention to that last statement. Each department head shall be responsible for development of a risk analysis and loss control program
Yes,
for their departments following the ICAP guidelines for loss control program.
right,
Highlighted it and it was approved February 1st, 1994.
yes,
So when that guy comes. he can bring
Yes.
that up.
will do.
Thank you, Cindy.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, I can go next, I guess. Last week I had the radio and newspaper. Tuesday had to go out to New Opportunities, sign some documents. And also on Tuesday had CGP meeting. Had a lot of different topics, talked about access, Washington trip. Some of the topics that they're going out was particularly for 3-in-1 housing. They are got some grants in place that trying to get a fellows for the grant to work on Hubs 712. That. And then on Wednesday through Friday, I was at ISAC. Monday this morning, was at the HVAC meeting, and then this week I have after this, I gotta go out and new opportunities, again, sign some Head Start documents. Plan on being at the opioid meeting Tuesday. Wednesday, we have Rolling Hills board meeting at Storm Lake. And then Thursday, Steph and I meet with Scout Energy again.
Yeah.
And that's my week and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, there we go. Last week, I was in Des Moines, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. While being down there, I took the time to go meet with some of the affiliates that were up in the main area. I know over the last 6 months, we kind of talked about having cross training to make sure that if anything ever happened in the county, we would be okay. So I went ahead and got some contacts in areas that we may not have 2 employees or anything like that. These are companies that can help us in time of need. One of them happened to be with the GIS and Assistant Management Program. These guys are actually going to send me more, and this is just so that we have backup. If something were to happen and an employee needs to take a leave of absence, we have something to help us. Then I also took time to go meet with a company that does HR. I know Carroll County has talked about hiring a full-time HR person, and we were advised by the county attorney not to do that. So here is an option that we can contract with them. They can come in, they can redo our employee handbook, they can do all of our policies. They also can do job descriptions for every employee. You know, we keep hearing things when we're in these Des Moines meetings, and it's time, like I had said, you know, we all get along, compromise, get together and work forward for the best of Carroll County. The more we butt heads and be told no, it's not conclusive for anybody to be mean. With that, I also spoke to a couple of county, not our county attorney, a couple different attorneys. I had some questions on our county ordinances, and I did reach out to the board to have you guys take a look at some of these county ordinances. Going forward, we're going to start picking off one by one. I do think we are not in compliance. We are supposed to do an overview of these every 5 years. And the last time it was done was the 27th of June, 2020.
Supposed to be codified every 5 years.
Yep, every 5 years. Then I'm not saying that any of these are wrong. I don't want to revamp them, rewrite them, but there are some, yeah, we do need to be compliant, and there are some details in some of them that probably need to just be updated, whether that's just certain things. So I'm going to reach out to the county attorney and see if we can't pick off a couple of these. I'm not saying we have to do 40 of them in a week, but if we could do 5 or 3, whatever. So I'll reach out to him and see if we can do that. This week, also, ISAC was really good. I probably would have to say, Jean can contest to this. A lot of the learning things you learn are the roundtables when you're discussing with other supervisors. Not to say that their meetings weren't great, but I think a lot of it is the stuff you learn outside of it.
I call it rubbing elbows.
Yes. This week I obviously had meetings this morning, tomorrow opioid meeting, and then Thursday wind turbines with Jean. And
Paper and radio.
newspaper and radio. Thanks for looking.
I will say one thing about ISAC this year, the last 2 years, particularly the annual conference, the legislative process has gotten quite extensively controversial and very debatable.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. Some of the stuff that I didn't think would take too much time, it took a lot of time.
And things that were a
Particularly-
policy.
One of
and
the
not
things that's
objective.
particularly is right up here,
Zoom.
open meetings.
That was way heated.
Because technically by law, you do not have to do this.
That went on for like 45 minutes.
Well, last year we had one that, what was that topic? They just drug on and drug on,
Yeah.
but but it's good debate. I mean, it is, so.
It's fine, but I think everybody
it's fine.
forgets they're elected, and when you stop doing the best job you can for the people that you are elected by, you won't be reelected, and I can speak that for supervisors, any of the positions. If you don't do your job, don't get reelected.
A couple more quick things. The ambulance, the new ambulance finally was delivered Friday. After many rework issues, but it finally, I believe, is housed in our ambulance building. And starting probably the first or second week in October, this board needs to find a new home, probably for 6 months. Conservation might be our best option. There is a Fricky Building Conference, Public Health Conference Room. The sheriff has a conference room. I think we need to keep it on our radar.
Got it.
And so IT is informed as far as the infrastructure that might be needed for us to continue in the capacity that we are. So keep that on your minds.
We may not be able to continue in the capacity we are currently, because I don't think we want to spend extra money to have a temporary space.
I totally agree.
But I have that on my list. and then-
Conservation and Ricky both have nice.
Yeah, I would say if you go up to conservation, you would have that infrastructure in place.
What else is
The
this?
city also did, perhaps volunteer, we could use the council chambers if needed. Because if we're gonna continue with 3 budgets next year, we're not gonna have this room to come meet people in. I know some of us go to their place. It's something to think about if we're gonna continue 3 budgets. Okay, sorry.
That's it. All right, and we're in order for her.
What do you ever ask her for next week?
I don't know if she knows what's next week.
The bill day next week,
Yeah.
next Tuesday,
Yep, so like,
All right,
motion to adjourn.
Second.
motion and second. Any more discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Opposed?
we want to do this.
Motion carries. You can stay.